Okay, so this is welcome to the next Let's Play together. This is going to
Sound test?
sound test. I actually did it with before when we, because I was recording the intro when I was checking the audio levels.
Oh, sorry.
No worries. Anyway, this is Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice. We were going to do Prey, but um, Branwen's feeling a little under the weather. I didn't want to put on
I
her the gaming right now.
I have a bad throat, and if we do this, I don't have to talk all the time. You can probably hear me cutting out. That's not my microphone. That is my voice box.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. So I'm gonna play something I've had in my menus for a while now on Greater Good Old Games. That I have been interested in touching, but have also been a little bit leery of because it this deals very heavily with mental illness um, and situations. And while I've never been had a big problem with that, it is kind of a bugaboo in the background of the family. Mostly depression, but some other things here and there. Uh,
Um, so from what I've heard, it's actually I have heard that this is surprisingly well well done as a depiction of mental illness. I think in particular schizophrenia.
yeah, the intro warning said psychosis and that they had help from psychologists. So,
Yeah, you would hope so. Like it, if you're dealing with mental illness these days, you really need to get that expert help, and you need to listen to the professionals about how you build a game based around mental illness, because
otherwise you get
it's
otherwise you get Dark Pictures, Little Hope.
otherwise you get Dark Pictures, Little Hope, or yeah, a whole most games that depict mental illness do it very poorly. Um, any um, any game that features a spooky asylum, bad plan,
Mm-hmm.
very bad plan. Stop doing that. We don't do that anymore.
Yeah, I I have to give some because that shows up like in Phasmophobia, but there are like ancient abandoned asylums that ghost hunters go to all the time. So that had
Oh,
that had to be a thing.
yeah, ancient.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like it is well documented that asylums back when they were around were terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but not terrible because they had mentally ill people in them. Terrible because the systems that were in place treated those patients
Horribly.
horribly.
Yeah. And
Um,
a lot of games still like to put in the modern asylum in the same aesthetic and people screaming and yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
um,
Go on.
yeah. Pro tip: anyone who's watching and wants to create a game about mental illness, and you're thinking about an asylum or something like that, um, don't do an asylum. Remember that in the modern era, um, people with mental illnesses just live out in the world and get, you know, treatment at home. Um,
Institutionalization is thankfully becoming less and less of a thing.
yep. Um, the only time you get institutionalized is if you are, um, if you can, if you're going to hurt someone else or yourself.
Yeah.
It's the only time you get institutionalized.
Yeah.
Um, and the vast majority of people living with a mental illness are not a danger to anyone.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Oh, as I said, I mean, I've
And
go on.
and now let's play a game about an extremely violent person who experiences a mental illness.
Yeah, let's do that. Here we go. It's very pretty designs. I like the Celtic stuff. I don't think it's actually Celtic. It's
Oh no, the Celts don't exist.
right. This is pre-Celt. Oh,
No. The
oh,
Celts are a made up classification.
really?
Hello.
Showing my ignorance.
Who are you?
So
Doesn't matter.
you please note you can call
Welcome.
things Celtic if you want. I'm not
You're
saying
safe with
anything
me.
like that. I'm just
I'll approach
as a
you
reminder, a
nice
lot
and
of
close so I can speak without alerting the others.
No worries.
Let me tell you about Senua.
sorry noise. A lot of different cultures just got hurled under the banner
It begins anew.
of Celts by white people.
What's happening?
Yeah.
It's breathing. The head. It's breathing. It's breathing. He knows she's getting closer. He can feel her coming closer. She's getting closer. They're watching. The head. They're watching. They're watching. They're watching.
This is a journey deep into darkness. There will be no more stories after this one.
What is she doing? Why is she doing this? They're watching. Why doesn't she come back? She's doing this for him. She wants to rescue him. He's already
So auditory hallucinations.
Yep.
Oh, how rude of me. I never told you of the others. You hear them too, right? They've been around ever since the tragedy.
Can you
That's
look
not quite
right
true.
at the
Some are old, some are new.
Oh, it's move. I thought I was in like Skyrim.
Changed. I think the darkness changed them, just like it changed her.
Okay, I didn't realize I could change the frame of view. I don't have much
Can you
control.
see them? Over there.
it's okay.
Where's she looking? Why aren't you dancing?
Look, up ahead. You see it too?
Hello, this is Lord Na.
Yeah.
Yes. It is real after all. She's finally arrived in the land of mist and fog. The place the Northmen call Hell.
It wasn't letting me look at the bodies.
Go back. Go back. It's not safe. Go back. Go back. Go back. It's not safe. Can you see them? I can see you.
Oh, very pleasant.
Look around and you will see them. The drowned, the sick, the slain. Here they lie, rotting in the fields and rivers of hell. But the dead don't always lie still here.
You see them?
This is not a place of rest.
Do this. Go back. Go back.
Oh,
They're
wow.
going to do that to you. Can you see them? Can you see them? They're going to do that to you.
They're watching.
Stop.
Can you feel them watching? They're watching her. They're watching her.
You're so close to the darkness. Go back. Can you feel it?
What is she thinking? I can tell you. She's afraid. Wouldn't you be? You'd think she would get used to it by now after so many years. But the darkness, it just builds onto itself, growing stronger, towering over her. You might try and ignore it, turn away. But it's always there, just out of sight, where you're most vulnerable. It's like it knows that just enough light is all you need to see its suffocating power.
I'm getting 13th Warrior vibes.
Just a little bit, yeah. If I remember correctly, though,
You might think she's brave to go on this
the
journey on her
Northmen
own,
are the bad guys in this
but
one,
it isn't
right?
bravery that drives her. Bravery only means
I
something
mean, I
to those afraid
believe
of death.
those were some wrecked longships.
Senua's fear
Yeah.
runs far, far deeper.
I've never played this game. I've heard of it. What little I
Me
know,
either.
little I know is her husband, I think, was killed by a Viking raid. Okay.
What is she looking at? What is she leaving behind? I know what she's thinking. I hear her thoughts. It's not too late to get into the boat and go back. No one will judge her. No one will ever know. Oh, she heard us. There's no going back.
Was that her? That was her.
You can't do it.
Senua pushes away a world that conspired to cause so much suffering. There's nothing to go back to, and worse to look forward to. Why don't you join us? Maybe you too have a part to play in this story.
Oh my god, that entire intro. Okay. My shoulders are kind of really... That tightness when you're spiraling, you know? And you're trying not to.
Mm-hmm.
Look really clearly.
Focus, Senua.
Focus. Focus and you'll see. What happens if you focus?
How do I focus?
You on keyboard or controller?
I'm on keyboard. Is this one where controller would be better? Because I could probably pick up the controller and use that.
It might be. Might have to check the options.
Controls. Focus, right trigger.
Focus right trigger.
Interact is
controls,
A,
not.
Run is left button, left bumper.
Oh dear.
This is going to be a thing.
Is there a keyboard menu if you go back? Oh, there you go.
E.
Focus is E.
Yep. And I forgot to do press to talk, so for a little bit there we were talking over each other, so that just makes things even spookier. Let's see. Left, right, melee is F. Evade is space bar, controls left block. Oh dear. Okay. Uh, controls makes it hard to do press to talk, unfortunately. Um, that's why I wasn't doing press to talk actually. So we'll try this. Z and C. Okay. So E.
Do not forget my stories, Senua, because your darkness comes from hell, and your fate lies there. They say the burning of a corpse will take you straight to Hela's gate, but gods and the living will follow this path. You must leave the Isles of Orkney across the eastern sea and find a road that leads north and down through deep, dark valleys. After 9 nights of riding, you will follow a great river and will find a bridge covered in gold. The path to Helheim goes from there, across the River of Knives that flows from the dark world of Niflheim.
Okay. As far as what I know about Hell is the descriptions of it aren't especially torturous or terrible unless you're a terrible person that got there because you were doing terrible things. But like if you're just there because you were sick, it's kind of like the worst about it is that it's a little bit boring.
Well, it depends. It's very hard to know much about Norse mythology at all because what we have of it is very Christianized.
And the not yeah they burned a lot. There was very little that was maintained. It's not like the Greco-Roman.
Well, remember it was an oral tradition. Up until, and there's only like the reason we have things like the Prose Edda, which talks about Thor, Loki, and Norse mythology.
Yeah.
Is because of like 1 or 2 guys who claim that they went around and recorded the stories. Yeah.
It's kind of like a lot of Germanic folklore comes from Grimm.
Yes.
The darkness is coming.
Of course, there are some things we know because there are rune stones and things like that, but they were practical applications of
Right.
belief systems rather than
She's not stopping.
Right.
the stories.
Right.
Hell, or rather like Niflheim,
This time.
where you went if you died of old age or sickness or not in battle,
Right.
was apparently a very cold, barren place. But there's some indications that if you wanted to, you could ascend a mountain
The river of knives
and
across which lies
be
the halls of
reborn.
hell. The place they call Helheim.
Much like Valhalla, Hell had her own lodge in Niflheim or Hell.
Got it.
Hell being both the place and the goddess.
Yeah. Ooh. Oh dear, that's
The-
creepy.
I hear you.
I wonder if that's a visual hallucination that she's having, or if she squeezing the bag is doing that.
Unless Hela holds his soul there.
Yeah, that could be either. Also worth noting, Woad is psychoactive.
Dillian.
Yeah.
So the blue paint is a mind-altering substance.
Okay, interesting.
What is she doing?
that certainly wouldn't help your stability, and that is.
Doing this for him.
I have been on beaches
He's already dead.
that look like this, except, you know, less horrible, a lot less stakes and death and things like that. But that sand is.
Yeah, no, I've
She
been on.
wants his soul to be at peace.
I've not been quite the basalt beaches, but I've
He's
seen
already
this.
dead. She can save him.
I've seen
There's nothing
the
she can
I've
do.
seen the tide pools and such like that.
She's not going to save him.
She'll
Mhm.
never make it to Helheim.
She can't let him rot here. She needs to try.
They
to Helheim.
made a mess of this place, didn't they?
I forget its name.
Yeah.
She forgets too.
Stakes to
does
stop the
remember that
long
it's dead,
ships, I
of course.
take it.
Hmm.
That part wasn't so easy to forget. The old fool said there was a hidden path up to it. Let's see, shall we?
It's hard to pick out which voice is her voice, because I think one of the voices is her.
It's possible. It's probable that she's not actually vocalizing those, that we're experiencing her
Hallucinations.
yeah.
I think when she turned and looked straight at the camera and there was that voice saying there's no going back, and then forcefully pushed the boat away, I think that was her.
Yeah.
It was a very different characterization, different sound to the
Mm.
voice.
Yeah. When he got to the new land, Cortez burned his ships.
Yeah.
Thus his men were well motivated.
Yeah.
And I changed my accent in the middle there because I can't do that for very long. Can't do Sean Connery for very long.
I don't
The
think Sean
Northmen speak
Connery could
9
do
worlds.
Sean Connery for very long.
The world of men they call Midgard. Sky gods dwell in Asgard. The gods of earth, harvest, wind, and sea dwell in Vanaheim. The good elves dwell in Alfheim. The evil ones dwell in Svartalfheim. The mountain giants dwell in Jotunheim. The fire giants dwell in Muspelheim. Niflheim is the world of ice and darkness. Only the dead dwell in Helheim. And that is where you must travel.
Okay, and I think I have time for one more video, and this is about 23 minutes. So we're going to switch. Well, this is a
Atmospheric.
very pretty game. Very creepy.